Got a Fuji camera? Today I'm reviewing 12 lenses and my favorite ones are actually the cheapest ones. Alright, today we are going to discuss lenses for Fuji cameras. I've got Fujinon, Sigma, and Viltrox, and we're going to see what the differences are and why I like them or don't, and what the price differences are, which is going to shock you. Now, Fuji is an APS-C format. That's a smaller sensor than full frame, so I would guess that most people would probably want smaller, more lightweight lenses than full frame because Fuji is kind of popular with street photography and travel and all that kind of stuff. So I got as many of those type of lenses as I could, and I got a few bigger, heavier ones for certain reasons, which we shall discuss in a moment. We're going to look at each lens in a video vlog situation and an on-location photo shoot situation. Now, unlike other people, I actually paid for all these lenses, so I'm going to give you my honest feelings of what it's like to actually use these in the real world, including what it's like to use Fuji in general. I'm going to start with the widest angle 18 and work my way up to the telephoto 75. So let's start with the Fuji 18mm f2. It's a nice small lens, I like that. It's nice and sharp right out of the gate at f2. 2.5 is better. It's small, but it's kind of heavy and it's a $600 lens. The 18 is one of my favorite little travel lenses. It's small, it's not very lightweight for its tiny little size, but small is important to me when I'm traveling. And look how sharp this is. It's a great street photography and reporter's lens when you're on the go. It's nice and sharp, good colors, and it's great when you're in tight spots with no room to back up like in a car. So that's the small little 18 f2, good wide angle lens to have. Now the next step up here that I have, I'm going to go through three different 23mm. We got Fuji, Sigma, and Viltrox, starting with the Fuji 23 1.4. This sucker is $1,000. It's heavy. It feels like a solid brick of metal. It's 1.4, it's not a stabilized lens, and it's not as sharp wide open at 1.4, even at 1/600th of a second. In fact, in a lot of my shots, it ended up being unusable at 1.4. Here's 1.4. What a shame. Here's f2, still not good. 2.5 is where it starts to become acceptable, but it's still somewhat soft. It gets nice and sharp after 2.8 to f4. Here it is at 2.8, and here's f3.6. So yes, it can take nice pictures, but it's not very user-friendly. Fuji lenses are a lot heavier, and they aren't often as sharp wide open, and they don't autofocus as well. There was this frustrating moment where my camera wasn't autofocusing with this lens no matter what I was doing. I tried everything and it just wasn't autofocusing. And I'm going, what is wrong? It took me 5 minutes to figure out this lens has a clutch that you pull back and push forward to engage or disengage autofocus. It's very slight. It's like just like 1/8 of an inch, just a tiny little click. And it's very easy to accidentally knock it. So now you're out of autofocus and it's in manual, and it took me 5 minutes to figure this out. I wasted so much time in pictures. That's frustrating. I am not a big fan of these clutches. I hate clutches. All right, moving on, let's go to the classic Sigma 23 1.4 lens. So the Fuji is $1,000. The Sigma is $500. So it's half the price of the Fuji. The Sigma 23 is smaller, lighter, and sharper. And the autofocus is nice and fast. It's quite good wide open at 1.4. And the autofocus doesn't search at all. Here it is at f4. This is a really solid, dependable lens for any APS-C camera. Fuji, Sony, Canon, and Lumix. Has really nice colors, and it's hardly any focus hunting, even when it's on a Fuji camera. Nice clear images. The Sigma 23 is actually my favorite vlogging lens on my Sony APS-C cameras. It's kind of long, and it's a little bit on the heavy side. So here we have the Viltrox 23 1.4. This thing is lighter, smaller, and it's only $240. So we went from $1,000 to $500 to $240. So this is half the price of the Sigma, which is half the price of the Fuji. It's got a little bit of focus searching, but not much, and it's actually not bad at 1.4, but 2.5 is where the magic is. It's very sharp at 2.5. You can get some really nice pictures with this cheap lens. Look at this. The 23mm is wide angle, so don't get too close though with people or it'll distort and look kind of a little weird. A 23 is really good for full body, but try to avoid close-ups. But look how sharp it is. Again, it's great for full body stuff and also vlogging. It's even pretty sharp wide open at f1.4, which is amazing for a $240 lens. For $240 bucks, I was surprised. Really good. So I think for price and weight and size, it beats the other two. The Sigma 23 is really good also. I would pass on the Fuji 23, me personally. Anyway, so let's move on. Now this one is one of my favorite lenses here. Look how small it is. It's really lightweight. It feels like lightweight plastic. This is the Viltrox 25 1.7. It's only $176. You'd think this is a cheap lens, but wow, wait till you see the pictures. It looks really nice wide open at 1.7. Look at this. And 2.5 is even sharper. This looks amazing. And it's small and super lightweight. The pictures are crystal clear, sharp, and they look amazing. This might be my favorite of all the Fuji lenses. It's so small and lightweight and sharp, and this is the perfect focal length for vlogging and everything else. Believe it or not, I like this Viltrox 25 1.7 more than the Sigma 23 1.4 because I like small and lightweight. This is the whole reason I got the XM5. If I want a bigger camera, I'll just go full frame Sony. This is a great all-purpose lens that's small, fun, lightweight, and super cheap. That's only $176, and I think that's what you guys like too, is cheap, right? Yeah! Well, there you go. I think this is one of my favorite lenses here. All right, let's move up now from 25 to 27 millimeter. Here we have something, this is the smallest of all the lenses. This is a 27 2.8. This lens is, look at this, it's almost a pancake lens. It doesn't get much smaller than this. Looking at it and holding it, you'd think it was a cheap little plastic kit lens, but this is actually $400. Fuji lenses are pretty expensive. At f2.8, it's totally okay, and at f4, it's a bit sharper, but you really can't tell much of a difference unless you're really zooming in and pixel peeping. Even at 2.8, you still get a tastefully soft background. It's not as sharp as the big heavy 1.2, but as a street photography travel lens, it's pretty good. And because it's so small, I say always have one of these along as a backup in case something happens to the other lenses. It's a great all-purpose lens, and it's not bad for the little lens that it is. And as with most Fuji lenses, the autofocus can be a little unpredictable, but look at the little thing. Tiny little thing. Great all-purpose lens to have as a backup. Just, it's good to always have something like this. All right, moving on to the other 27, from a 27 2.8 Fuji to a 27 1.2 Viltrox. Now we went from the smallest to one of the biggest. This thing is big, it's heavy, and it's a pro lens. This is a Viltrox 1.2 Pro. This is a monster lens. If you want super sharp and blurry backgrounds with a wider angle, this lens will shock you. It's big and heavy though. It's a pro lens, but even as a pro, it's just $580. And unbelievably, it's actually very sharp at 1.2. At 2.5, it's just as good. One thing that makes Viltrox lenses a little strange is that they're actually sharp, wide open. 1.2, this thing is pretty darn sharp. Here it is at 1.4, and it's awesome for full body stuff like this. It's great for vlogging frame composition, and let's take a moment and savor this picture. A 1.2 Pro lens for only $580. Wow. And this is 1.2. If this isn't cinematic, I don't know what is. And it's nice and sharp at 1.2. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. It's just big and heavy. That's the only thing about this. So, not my first choice for taking on a trip, but if you want something serious for studio work, or if you got a really serious shoot, this is a really good one to consider. Now, moving from big and heavy to small. This is really small. This one is the 50 millimeter Fuji f2. Look how small it is. This is small. Again, it's Fuji, so it's solid metal and glass. It's quite heavy, but it's small, and I like small. This is $450, and just like the 18 f2, these are both f2s, the 50 f2 is nice and sharp right out of the gate at f2. And at f2.5, it's super sharp. Wow. This thing is so small and lightweight and sharp, and those are my three favorite lens qualities, is for traveling, especially for small, lightweight, and sharp. Really nice stuff, really dependable lens, and it's fun to use. And fun is important to me. And it's small, which is what I like. So this makes this also one of my favorite lenses. Okay, now moving up from 50 to 56, we have three 56s. Fuji, Viltrox, and Sigma. The Fuji, again, is really heavy and it's expensive. $1,000. The autofocus is not that great and the focus goes in and out a lot. At 1.2, it's almost unusable. Focus goes in and out. At 2.5, the sharpness is finally good, but the focus searching is so bad. There are some lucky moments where you can get nice and sharp at 1.2, like here, and you can get really nice shots with it, like here. This one is f2, by the way, and this one here is f1.6. But even at 1.6, look how shallow the depth of field is. Her eye is in focus, but her hair is starting to go out of focus. And the autofocus is undependable. It's a total hit or miss. So for me, $1,000 for an undependable lens that's really heavy. I mean, you can get some good shots with it, but I've got two other 56s to choose from. So let's go to these ones. All right, here we have the Sigma 56 1.4. A lot smaller than the Fuji and a lot cheaper. This one is only $520 as opposed to the $1,000 Fuji. This is 1.4. It's smaller, a little lighter. And the Sigma 56, this is the go-to portrait lens for any APS-C or Micro Four Thirds or Fuji lens if you like blurry backgrounds. It's pretty good even at 1.4, and here it is at 2.5, a little bit sharper. No focus searching, great performance, and I think it might even be a little sharper than the Sigma 23 1.4. Look at these shots. This is the perfect portrait lens. Nice creamy background, and the foreground is nice and punchy. I use Sigma 56s with my Sony APS-C, my Panasonic Lumix Micro Four Thirds. It's my most trusted lens for my APS-C cameras. Look at this shot. It's f2.8, so it's nice and sharp. And look, even at 2.8, you still get a nice soft background. You don't need to shoot f1.4 all the time. And look at this shot. This is f2, not 1.4. So stop shooting wide open all the time. But this lens is pretty sharp at 1.4, like here. But look at the quality of these images. The Sigma 56 1.4 is a trustworthy, really good lens. And if you want really blurry backgrounds, get closer to your subject and watch the magic happen. Now you can see why I have three of these, for Sony, for Micro Four Thirds, and for Fuji. And the 56 is actually surprisingly smaller than the 23 Sigma 1.4. So another reason I like this one. I love the 56, not crazy about the 23 for size. This is not that big, and it's really good quality, much better than the Fuji 56. So that's the Sigma 56 1.4. Now moving on to the Viltrox 56 1.4. So we went from a $1,000 Fuji to a $520 Sigma to again a $240 Viltrox 56 1.4. Here's the video vlog test at 1.4. 1.4 on the left, 2.5 on the right. Viltrox is getting really good at making sharp lenses even wide open. This is 1.4, very comparable to Sigma 56 1.4. Really nice look. In fact, I think it's even a bit sharper than the Sigma. Now, it may be just me, but I think this lens is so good it's almost a touch too clinical and maybe a tad on the cool side for color as opposed to Sigma. But look at this, there is an undeniable wow factor to these pictures. Look at this. That rock behind her is only 18 inches from her head, and look at the separation. And this is 1.8. This isn't even 1.4. So again, you don't have to shoot wide open all the time. But if you do, you can get some really dramatic stuff like this. Autofocus can be a bit iffy because of Fuji, but when it hits, it can be very sharp. Look at this one. And of course, a nice blurry background. In fact, it can get way too blurry. I think the Sigma is warmer and the Viltrox is sharper, and half the price. All right, and finally we have the big heavy monster, the 75 1.2 Viltrox. Almost as big and heavy, or it is as big and heavy as the Viltrox 27 1.2. The 75 is actually a little bit bigger. It's a 1.2 Pro lens. It's a 75 1.2 XF Pro STM EDIF. It's big and heavy, but if you want a lens that blows you away, here you go. Viltrox, again, is a crazy anomaly in the lens world. It's super sharp and wide open at 1.2, and 2.5 looks no better. It's just bizarre. There's not a lot of focus searching either. It's quite impressive. And look at this. This is 1.2. Look how sharp that eye is and how creamy that background is. Let's back up a bit. It's still sharp. Let's back up some more. Wow, still sharp. Let's get really close. Wow, really sharp. If you want background separation and if you want to live your cinematic dreams, this is your Fuji Dream Lens. But it is big and heavy compared to the others. Not fun for lugging around for street walking or just casual traveling. But if you're doing a serious photo shoot or you're doing a studio shoot, oh, definitely consider this one, especially when you're doing a serious shoot outdoors. When you have these things wide open, it looks like you threw the background in a blender and turned it into cream soup. Anybody who thinks you need full frame to get really blurry backgrounds and you can't get it with APS-C doesn't know about lenses like this. This is just as creamy and airbrushed blurry as any full frame out there. And look at the sharpness of the foreground. And this big 75 1.2 XF Pro STM ED-IF lens is only $580. That is just amazing in itself. Viltrox is 1/3 the price of Fuji and half the price of Sigma. Okay, so for 23mm, it's Viltrox, then Sigma, then way at the end is Fuji. And for 56mm, it's Sigma, Viltrox, and then Fuji. Again, at the end. Fuji is not my first choice for those. Now, I'm not a big fan of Fuji lenses. They're big and heavy, and they don't autofocus very well, and they're not super sharp, wide open. But interestingly enough, for traveling, 2 of the 3 most favorite travel lenses that I like for Fuji are Fuji lenses. And that is the Fuji 18 f2 and the 50mm f2. They're small and they're pretty dependable. So those are the 2 of the 3 favorite travel lenses, and the third one that I like the most. My favorite lens of all for putting on a Fuji camera is the Viltrox 25 1.7. Lightweight, it feels like plastic, but it's super, super sharp, and I just love it. These are my 3 most favorite lenses for traveling. Now, if I was in a studio or I was doing a serious photo shoot and I just wanted the most pow, wham, amazing stuff ever, where I would be including these 2 Viltroxes here, the 75 1.2 and the 27 1.2. And I guess runner-up for all of these as my favorite would be the Sigma 56 1.4. That would be another one that I really like, because for portrait, I do mainly portraits, so that would be a really good one for having a little more blurry background, and 56 instead of 50. And always, when you travel, have if you can afford it, a 27 2.8, just to have as your all-purpose backup lens. Now, it also depends what you're using them for. Fuji lenses might be good, they might be sharp under certain situations and all that, but it depends what you're using it for. For vlogging, where you're just sitting there or standing there and you're not moving and you're just in the middle of the picture, it's pretty good. That's pretty dependable. It shouldn't have that much problem focusing on you in that situation. But when you're out in the world doing photo shoots on location and things are moving very quickly, Fuji autofocus is not that great, especially if you're out there snapping pictures quickly and the model's moving and you're hand holding the camera. A lot of pictures that I took on our photo safari were out of focus. The camera just couldn't lock on very well. It's not like a Sony camera. If you're doing a static shot and nothing's moving very much, or it's just you talking on a vlog or something, then autofocus is pretty good. But when you're on the move, Fuji's not the system for on the move. I also experienced a issue that really frustrated me. It ruined half my pictures when I was using this on for shooting this video. I'm going to bring that up in the next video. Another frustrating thing about Fuji that just drove me crazy. That's in the next video. Right now I'm just talking about lenses. So yeah, you can get really good pictures with Fuji. That's why I still have it. The look is just amazing. I mean, the color, there's creaminess of the look, and the colors are good. It gives you this nice seductive look, but it's a challenge to get everything perfect, especially the autofocus. Anyway, so there you go. All right, Fuji lenses. Hope you got something out of it. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.